So you guys are here to hear more about you know how senior living communities are winning attention in 2026, and just to set the stage, kind of who we are, why we're talking about this subject. Nate is the founder and CEO of Dash Media, a video production and social media company. He's been telling really powerful stories in senior living for quite some time now. Started the Senior Living Stories channel that many of you probably know and are subscribed to, has reached hundreds of millions of people with telling beautiful, honoring the stories of older adults. And then for myself, I'm the VP of marketing for AccuShield. I've been here for about 2 years. My background actually comes from the MarTech and FinTech space, where I was really growing and doing visual storytelling, I'd say, with the creative mediums. Got my start in graphic design, doing web design. I was doing film and video, and ultimately at these kind of small startups, telling brand stories and shaping the brand. So to set the stage, in 2026, we know that attention is very difficult to get. For about 15 to 20 years, we had a really good run as marketers, where you had all these good channels to tell stories. You had email to reach people, viable channel. You had SEO, where you could kind of very easily configure your content to reach who you wanted to get to. Ads were a less expensive thing than they are now, and all those channels have had like diminishing returns. So pure volume has saturated those channels, and AI, of course, was really the nail in the coffin that kind of was like, okay, now there's just, okay, let's 5x the volume of noise. So what does that mean for marketers? I mean, we really have to be good at storytelling again. And so that, I'd say, that's the fun of it, Nate. Wouldn't you? Like, there was this dip away from focus on good storytelling and understanding your brand and positioning.
Yeah, no, it's interesting to how fast this stuff changes too. I started Dash 2022, and we could go viral pretty much every week. It was pretty easy, but it was kind of the tail end of that. And now it's like we're still getting viral videos and getting stories out there, but it is less frequent. I mean, there's just so much money that is pumped into every industry, into content production, that I think senior living is kind of late to the game in some regard. But the good news is everybody's kind of late to the game. So it's almost like we're forming our own algorithm for seniors
Yeah.
on these platforms. So it's a great time to really dive into and start storytelling in a different way than it's traditionally been done in senior living.
Yeah. Yeah, and the time of video, we knew it was arriving. It arrived, and it's not like declining year over year. You see the stat 3x 24 to 25. How many videos were viewed? It's clearly the front runner in content medium that people want to share with other people. 1,200% more shares than text or images. The problem, as we stated, is that kind of standing out part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it's funny. That's the whole reason I started Dash. I had this negative view of what senior living was. Went and talked
Yeah.
to a couple of seniors and heard their stories, and realized that everybody's story of how they ended up in senior living is kind of similar. It's like you thought it was one thing, and then you came and visited, or you talked to a senior, and you realized it was something totally different that really fulfilled your heart and purpose. And so it's like, how do we digitize that? And it's through these short stories. And So I'm excited. You know, I think that everyone, if you're joining the call, I think most people would probably agree that storytelling matters, but it's that execution. Like, how do you do it? I understand that I should be telling the stories, but my activities directors struggle with it, or we just haven't really found a good process, or it's the quality's bad. There's all these reasons why we don't.
Yeah.
And so I think I'm pumped to talk through those issues with you today.
And it also feels very intangible. It's like, yeah, I need to be telling stories, but it feels like it's something for the creatives. Whereas what you've established and worked with so many customers to do is kind of operationalize that and create a system.
Yep.
So that's the meat and potatoes of what we're going to talk about today. And hopefully, we can give you some practical insights, things you can take away and be like, this is the kind of system, whether it's working with Nate or it's your folks internally. How do I tell the stories in my community? So, Nate, do you want to kind of walk through
Yeah,
these steps?
and yeah, I think that's a good point. I don't want the takeaway to be like this is only a Dash thing. I think that
Yeah.
everybody, if you're going into a video shoot, you should understand like everything that you can get out of that video shoot that can impact your business. And if you do the pre-production work and the post-production work, or the content creator, the videographer, the production company does that work, then you're one, able to save a bunch of money, but two, you're able to touch on staff recruitment, you're able to touch on sales and marketing, you're able to impact culture. And so it's kind of a ripple effect throughout the organization. Whereas if you're just focusing on capturing that one story of that one person and then it's done, okay, what did you get out of it? And then we got to go do it again. And so I think today, walking through some of that, what that looks like, um, on the front end and the back end. I don't, you want to kind of
Yeah.
go through that?
Yeah. I think the hard part, one of the hardest parts is finding the right stories to tell.
Yep.
And so I think we probably need to expand our mindset. Like we see it, we're kind of saturated with a lot of the same stories in senior living. Um, and like dancing seniors or kind of your engagement events can only go so far. They don't show that humanity, that depth that you can show. We talked a bit in prep for this. You know, I think there are staff stories to tell too, right? Um, Families, caregivers that are consistent in our community, because that's also part of um, as you're going to market and how you appear to your target residents and your target families is those stories. Is I think of Chick-fil-A, right? How they treat their employees is a pass through to how the customer feels.
Mhm. Yeah, I heard it. James Lee said this to me a few years ago, or I heard it on a webinar. Um, he's like, you would, your story attracts whoever the protagonist of your story is. And so if you want to attract independent living residents, if you want to attract memory care residents, the protagonist of your story should be
Yeah.
them. And I think a lot of the stories we see are kind of your cookie cutter testimonials. It's predictable, if you will. Like once you've
Hmm.
seen one, you've seen them all, and those still serve a purpose. But I think what we miss is like an independent living resident as a protagonist of the story is what? It's them living a fulfilled life, having all of this wisdom, exercising every day, and now they've joined a community
Yeah.
in your community. But that's not the main point. The main point is they're happy and they're full of joy. And
Hmm.
why? Because they lived a successful life. They have amazing kids and amazing marriage that they want to share with you. And so those are the kind of stories that if you want to attract potential independent living residents, you have to share value for prospects of independent living residents. Same
Yeah.
thing with memory care. And you can kind of go through the list of each one of these and say, okay, how can I bring value to this person? And how
Yeah.
do I share that through a story? And you mentioned trending content. I mean, We've all seen like the trends that get 30 million views. I think what we don't see are the 99 other videos that get posted that are kind of like a little strange, a little weird. It's just the trendy dances. It's like if they do go viral and quote unquote are successful, you're really just attracting a bunch of people that like that trend and that dance, and
Yeah.
that don't really. It's not going to impact your business. So that's
No.
why we personally stay away from trends for the most part. Every now and then we'll do it for fun, but
Right.
I do think the stories are what differentiate us as an industry
Yeah.
on social.
And it's back to the marketing basics, or marketing and sales basics, is like knowing your personas, your target personas. Who do you want to attract, and then what are their pain points? How do you want them to see themselves thriving, in a community? And then you fit yourselves into that, and a little bit of story brand. Donald Miller stuff is like making them the hero. You talked a little bit about that. Of
Yep.
course, you can take that approach. So I didn't know this term actually before you told me, the purple cow principle. Can you walk us through this?
Yeah, I heard it on like a Mr. Beast. Shout out to all the 12-year-olds in the world that love Mr. Beast. Um, Mr. Beast is the number one YouTuber. He's got more subscribers than Netflix. If you don't know him,
That's
ask
wild.
your kids and they know him. But he was doing this podcast interview and he basically said like scrolling through social media, in order to grab someone's attention, you need to view it as like driving down the road and seeing a purple cow. If you just see a regular cow, you're not going to stop. You're not going to remember it. You're not going to share that memory with anybody. You're not going to, to stop and take a picture of it. But if you see a purple cow, you're pulling to the side of the road. You're going to take a selfie with it. You're going to send it to a friend. You're going to talk about it next week, and you're going to remember that moment. And so as people are scrolling through social media, what is your purple cow? If you're only posting just a normal cow of the picture of your resident doing an activity, or
Happy smiling faces.
happy smiling faces, or the
Yeah.
Canva graphic that says Happy Valentine's Day, like
Yeah.
no, you're just a regular cow. People are gonna keep scrolling. But if I love these examples you have up here, like a World War II veteran, or a 100-year-old resident, or a staff member who cared for their mother before joining the team. Like those are the kind of things that allow, or cause someone to stop, listen, and watch. And they're the senior living version of a purple cow.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we've got some fun examples to walk you through, right? Of those purple cows that we've found. And Nate, you've had the opportunity to capture a lot of these moments, but we'll go ahead and play that. You want me to go ahead and play this?
Well, let me give the context behind this real quick, because I think the principle, we've made 10,000 plus videos. There's a lot of good stories, but the principle of this particular video is what I would love people to take away from, because I think you can apply it today. If you have a good story and that has performed well on social or online, or you're getting a lot of feedback from it, the beautiful part about that is if you do the pre-production work and the post-production work. So, filming schedule, getting the background information, and then logging that footage in some sort of database to know everything that you filmed. Over time, what happens is you can revisit those stories that performed well, and they perform even better or as good the second time. And so this particular video a year ago in January went super viral. It got 25 million views on TikTok and a few million views on other platforms. But it was a resident in a partnership with Tailgate. Jack had done this interview, and Dash did the social media side of it. And this lady had talked about her. We can play the video and then I'll get the rest.
Yeah. Let's roll it.
I married a guy who had asked me for a date when I thought, why in the world is he asking me for a date? He dated the cute girls. And I just couldn't understand it, but I thought he was cute. So I thought this was wonderful. Ended up marrying him. So about 3 years after we were married, I asked him, why did you ask me for the first date? I know, we had fun. It was good afterwards, but why the first date? He said, you wore an orange corduroy dress. And I thought anybody who would wear an orange corduroy dress liked to have fun. So we had fun the rest of our lives.
So the beautiful part about that is, amazing story. People fell in love with that, her and the orange corduroy dress. So if you scan that QR code, it's like a 4-minute video, so we won't watch it now. But if you scan that QR code, a year later, Jennifer McCallahan from Methodist Senior Services out of Mississippi gifted her an orange corduroy dress.
Aww.
And she had no idea that she went viral. Miss Dottie didn't. And all of that was just like real raw reaction. And she almost told the exact same story right then and then gives advice. So it's like that snowball effect. Once you start getting these stories, other stories kind of spin off of them, and it all leads back to your organization.
Yeah. You kind of queued me up for this next slide. We just knew we wanted to, the AccuShield wanted to tell the stories of concierges. Kind of an underappreciated, tough job. You're, fielding a lot of different requests from different directions. You've got the phone, you've got responsibility to kind of like make sure everybody coming into the community, along with AccuShield, is who should be there. And we're like, these are front desk heroes. So in story brand, kind of traditional, straight down the lane, we're like, let's celebrate these heroes. So we're pretty close with Arbor, and have a lot of communities here locally in Atlanta. And we just asked them, hey, could you give us some of your concierges and their stories, like who might be interested in telling their story? And we got a list, and Judy's was like just shouted off the page. Her mom lived in the community. There's these beautiful pictures of her mom just being so happy in the community. And when her mom passed, she was so connected with the community, that she was like, I'm happy to come work here. So she worked there, and then while she's working there, she gets terminal cancer. She gets diagnosed with terminal cancer, has I think it's months to live, and worked through that because her counselor said, hey, it's better for you to be in community and have people supporting you through that and do your job, because it's such a interfacing role, and battle cancer, beat cancer. I mean, I'm getting chill bumps talking about it. There's a QR code to go watch it, but it's just those, like, I've got intangibles here. Her deep care for the residents. She was just excellent at her job. She came across super bubbly on camera. It was a purple cow moment. Without knowing that term at the time, I was like, wow, this is rare. And then it gets to tell the story for the others, right? The other untold stories. So you kind of feel like it's telling more than just that.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever feel like, we get this question, so I'm curious, do you ever hear that there's some worry of, like, the person feels like their story is getting, like, framed in a different way or sold or taken advantage of? I mean, we hear that a good bit, or as potential worries, but we've actually never heard that from a actual resident or person.
No, I've never gotten that. I've worried about that myself as I'm telling their story, because you feel like you're stewarding something precious, right? But I've never had, because in the scenarios where we have shot these, captured these kind of stories, all the people around them want to sell. It's hard to twist the narrative. It kind of tells itself, because it's authentic to who they are.
Yeah. That's why I think consistency is also important, because if you're doing this at volume and you're doing it every week, when you do come across an extraordinary story, then it's not this like random pop up, hey, we got to take advantage of this story while we have it. because you've been doing that all along. It's kind of like having a podcast and then something crazy happens in the world and you have a voice. It's just part of your natural flow, but it would be a little strange just coming out of nowhere on a random topic. So
Yeah.
I think that it really does anything. If anything, it makes the person feel important and proud, because usually nobody's asked them about their story and cared enough to sit down and capture it.
Yeah. We could have had Thomas Sanders and Tailgate. Like, I know you're close with Jack. Like, Jack helped us shoot this love meter video. Tom helped us shoot. And so I say that it is important to capture these things in kind of like a method. Do you want to talk about, we've got like B-roll here. How do you approach making sure you capture not just the interview stuff?
Yeah, so we try to bring math into the creative world. And so our thought in the first year of Dash, we overshot, we overfilmed. There was way too much footage that we had that we knew there was good stuff, but we already filmed again. And so we never got to the good stuff from the first shoot. And so the pre-production, what that does is be able to say, hey, we're going to film 12 interviews in 2 days with residents. We're going to film 8 staff interviews, 2 of which are CNAs, 2 are kitchen, 2 are chef, whatever the breakdown is. And then we're going to get 8 activities. And then activities, we're going to be able to pair these different stories from the residents with B-roll. And so you're kind of you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone in that sense. And so the pre-production is super important in that sense, because then it gives the video team that you've hired the vision to be prepared in real time. And if something cancels, they know how to pivot quickly.
Yeah. When something cancels.
Our best shoots we'll plan out 100%.
Yeah.
But 70 to 80% actually gets executed. And so what is your backup plan to your original plan? You got to have those kind of things. Otherwise, the video team's just going to sit around and twiddle their thumbs, or they're going to leave early, and you have this, valuable time with a camera there that you could have captured things. And so having a backup plan to the plan is also super important.
Yeah. And what I failed to mention about this kind of video clip that I turned into a looping GIF, it was the culmination at the end of the video. Love Meter, if you want to know more about it, helps us identify potentially isolated seniors based on visitation data in combination with the engagement data from the Life Loops, Care Predicts, and the store. And then what we did is the guy on the right is actually a nurse in training, part of a nursing school. And so we paired those nursing students with an individual throughout this kind of Love Meter trial. And they really built deep relationships over the course of like 6 weeks. And this was like one of those sweet moments. And there were so many like this, but I want to point out that you have to be prepared to capture it, where they're just smiling and they were just dancing, and you could just see the joy on her face and his face.
Yep. And to go back to our point earlier, like, you could easily post every week, like, Project Love Meter is blah, blah, blah. And then you're just a cow. But a purple cow is that. It's those stories that cause you to stop scrolling. I do want to, on the last point on the full process, the post-production, I would say the most important part is logging all of that footage. So storing it in a way that you can reference it later. And so, like, what we do every time we hit record, we're logging that and taking notes and rating the footage and naming the footage, so that when you need CNA stories 3 years down the road, you can quickly find that. If you don't do that post-production work, you'll lose 90% of your footage over time, because it just gets lost in all the gigabytes.
Yeah, you have to do a lot of organization.
Yep.
So I think we've got a poll question up. Our first excuse me, poll of the day. Should walkers and wheelchairs be kept out of marketing / brand photos? It looks like we've got a resounding no so far. That's encouraging to see. I mean, we're about to talk about authenticity. It's just like you think senior. If you just go Google, really, if you ask ChatGPT, generate me a photo of senior living, it's going to be, 50-year-olds, happy, healthy, playing, not tennis. What's the rage?
Pickleball.
Pickleball. Thank you. That's like, it's a very myopic story of senior living.
Yeah,
So
it's funny that this is zero. When as people that have a lot of people in the background of footage, people don't really love all the time walkers and wheelchairs in the shot. But
it's easy to say no in a poll, but then when you got to make the decision between the two photos, would you still do it?
Yeah. I think what we value the most is, does this video or picture withhold the dignity of the person? Would they be proud of this? No matter, this especially gets into like AL and memory care and skilled nursing. Would the family be really proud to see this if they were scrolling? And I think that's the question you ask. It's not, do they have some sort of ailment that, you could see the device like a walker in the video.
Yeah.
People know that that's reality sometimes. But it's the dignity of the person, I think, is the most important thing to withhold.
Yes. Dignity. Yep. So the authenticity tax, tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah, so we're starting to get like a ton of data to talk about putting math into the creative process. Like after it gets posted, we're able to pull we have a whole video review system. And so the interesting thing is the channels that have more rejected videos or more revisions per video get significantly less views than ones that go by the dignity rule. Is like, okay, the first question is, does this entertain, educate, or inspire? If yes, does it withhold the dignity of the person? If yes, then it should be posted. I mean, it really is like those two questions. If it answers yes to those two questions, it should be posted. But trying to script the perfect message in today's day and age hurts your volume. It hurts the creativity of the people creating the content. And so it becomes a watered down message and story, which then leads to, those things that you have listed there. And I love this illustration. Imagine if we submitted Mona Lisa to, 15 marketers to review it.
Yep. A lot of edits.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, it's like this separation between, you can't, it's difficult to tell a story other than reality. It's more natural if you can celebrate the reality within your community, celebrate the beauty that's already there. And it may not look perfect, but it is what people are drawn to, is like the beauty, even in some of the tougher things about being in a senior living community.
Yeah. And I'm a bit of a hypocrite, to be honest with you. When I get Dash content that I have to approve, I'm like, no, this needs to look this way. And so it is hard. I know this is your brand. For a lot of marketers. Your brand is your baby, and you want it to be perfect. And so I get that it's hard. But I think if you go back to those two questions of, does it potentially inspire, entertain, or educate your desired audience, and does it withhold the dignity of the person? If the answer is yes, then it's not going to hurt you to post it. There's only upside after that.
And what if you get reps in checking those, you fight that instinct to polish something and checking those boxes, and you get reps publishing those things, you start to become more comfortable with seeing that. and seeing how people respond.
Yeah. And more times than not, the videos that perform the best are the most mundane videos that are just like connect with people in some sort of way that you could never predict.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't tailor those perfect messages a lot of times. Once they are tailored, people, especially nowadays, they sense that it was like overly edited, overly scripted. And so you're back to being a regular cow.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's right. I'm thinking smooth, outside the lines, like smooth, polished brand rock, but it's the edges here we talk about that can actually capture attention. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, it's well, from a quality standpoint, just like production quality, I went, this was 4 years ago, back to Mr. Beast. I'm not a huge Mr. Beast fan. I've learned a lot from him. So I went to his offices for his foundation, and they were talking about how when they film on incredibly nice equipment, but they actually export the footage in 1080 HD. They don't export it in 4K. They intentionally edit it to be high quality on the back end, but on the front end, you feel more raw, feel more authentic, because it's more believable, and that gets more views and things like that. And so, doing things like practicing things like, how do I ask these questions to bring out real answers that I like to hear, that are raw, without telling a person how they should say it or having them repeat the answer they've already given you. And so there's some talent there, but then being okay with, if you ask a resident, like, why did you come here? And then they talk about their journey and their testimony with the Lord.
Yep.
Being okay with sharing about their testimony about the Lord. We have some clients that want to steer away from like those kind of topics. But if it's someone's story of how they got there, chances are there's other people out there that will relate to it. And that's honestly when someone relates to content, that's what draws them to watch the video and take action on the video. So I love what you said. Corporate neutral equals invisible.
Yeah.
So when you don't have a chance,
safe is invisible.
Yeah. Nobody's going to really pay attention.
Yeah. I like to tell my team, like, let's have fun, and also I think the majority, I don't have any data on this, but I think the majority of people are weird, like I'm weird. I have like in all the best possible ways. And I think it's fun to like, people are drawn to that authentic, like, what's your weird? It feels like it could be some sort of brand slogan. What's your weird? But just be comfortable with people's awkwardness some too. Like going back to the polished stuff, sometimes the awkward moments or the pauses or the that is actually snaps people out, and people pay attention.
Yeah there's countless examples of that too. And you're almost like, when you tell these stories at volume, you're able, and you do touch on all these different topics and people's stories, you reach a bunch of different groups of people, and most of them end up being older adults, or in the demographic that you're trying to reach.
All right, so we got our next poll that the team will put out about so what's your top platforms? There we go. It's launching. You'll get it in just a few seconds. Which social platform is number one for 55 plus? Yeah, Facebook. I would expect. I mean, what would you expect here, Nathan?
Well, I know the answer, so I'm not gonna lead the audience. I'll just say TikTok's becoming a sleeper. No one's gonna select TikTok probably, but
AccuShield is on TikTok. Go check us out. The team, I'll call them the media team, is making some really fun content on there. So go check it out.
Interesting that we have no other
sticking with Facebook
there.
I mean, Facebook is what I would have said So
Yes,
do you want
YouTube,
to?
guys. YouTube is the answer. And YouTube and the data for us shows that like our YouTube Shorts in the last year has dominated. I mean, there's some Facebook channels that do well, but I think the number. Did we have the numbers on a slide?
Um,
I think I actually had it.
Oh, 62% beats Facebook.
Yeah, 62%
Yeah,
of
it's not on the slide, but
55 plus year olds used YouTube. I think it was like 51 for Facebook or 48, somewhere around there, depending on when you look. But I think it goes back to a lot of older adults. I was thinking about why, because Facebook
yeah,
is obviously a good guess. Instagram actually does really well. TikTok was number 2 for us as a company in reaching older adults last year. But YouTube, you can watch these shorts on TV. And so I went to my parents' house and watched them how they consume content.
yep.
And you just scroll through like you would on your phone, but YouTube allows you to do it easier. And so it's the most underpriced attention, in my opinion, for older adults, because not many people are implementing that strategy. But tons and tons of older adults are consuming content, and there's not a lot for them on there. So that would be the big takeaway, I would say.
I like for our marketing and sales. Have you run YouTube YouTube short ads? Seen any success with that?
We have not. Usually, we're the content supplier. We can run
Sure.
paid ads for some of our clients. We've done some on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and had great results, but no YouTube ads yet.
Okay. That was a curveball. Just thought you might
Yeah.
have.
No, I mean, if the audience is there, so the key with paid ads is taking
Yeah.
a video that performed well organically on that platform, repurposing it, and running the paid ad, because it's going to get engagement because it did for free,
Exactly.
organically. And so if you repurpose it, meaning add a hook in the beginning and then a call to action at the end,
Mm-hmm.
run it as an ad, your cost per lead and cost per conversion will go way down. That's just kind of a general rule, no matter what platform.
I'm getting into the details, and maybe somebody on the call is nerdy enough to care. In a later slide, we talk about not putting CTAs actually in the video. Is that something you would still do here on YouTube? Like the call to action?
Yeah, for a paid ad.
Okay.
So paid ad, yeah. Paid ad, I'll give you an example. We had a testimony that goes viral, hiring need in Corpus Christi, Texas, adding a hook in the beginning saying, looking for a job in Corpus Christi, Texas, and then text at the end saying, click the link below to apply. So it's the same video that performed well organically. We're just repurposing it to fit a paid ad that you're going to put dollars behind.
Makes sense. So we're going to talk a little bit about funneling. I know not everybody, just to break it down, like the funnel, you think about your top is kind of attraction. I think we've even got a slide here. Yeah. Top of the funnel is kind of this awareness phase. Really good to have like reels and shorts, little things that are kind of bite-sized. I know none of us go to malls anymore, but maybe some of you do. But the free chicken for like that is carried around on the tray for the Asian restaurant, those little bites that kind of pull you in. I'm think of top of funnel kind of content as like samplers, right? Of who you are, what you're about. Mid funnel, you're telling more the long form content. We've got many documentaries here. This is where you've already captured attention. They're like, okay, I'll listen. So you can tell more of the depth of your community's stories. And then bottom funnel, which Nate was kind of telling me some about how some of his customers have used that inside tours on the flow, kind of more objection handling kind of things. Anything you would add there, Nate?
Yeah, I mean, this is great. So, like, if you put it into examples, top of the funnel would be like a couple that's been married for 55 years and a 30-second clip of saying like the key to being married for 55 years.
Oh yeah, yeah,
The bottom of the funnel would be having like what it's like to be in a couple and saying we wish we'd have moved in sooner than we had, and it's more of a testimonial. So people fall in love with their love story and they're hooked in, and so you're reaching masses amount of people. They come to your channel to hear more, and part of what's on your channel is their journey to living in your communities. And then you can actually use that clip to follow
right.
up with other couples that have the objection of, we're not ready yet. We're going to wait till something happens before we make this decision. And you can send that clip and say, look, this couple is just like you. They wish they would have moved in sooner. I hope you don't make the same mistake. So it's hard to have one without the other. It's hard to get people to watch that testimonial without hooking them in and getting them to know that they're real people with real stories that are interesting and relatable.
Yeah. I was kind of doing some research, and the attention span for the average person has shrunk. I think it was in 2000. It was something like I want to say 10 seconds, and in like the span between then and now, it's something like 7 seconds, and that was like 2020 or something. I think with the introduction of AI and stuff, personally, I think my attention span is like 3 seconds and I'm on to the next thing.
Yeah, it's great. I actually had a slide about this at the Sales 1-to-1 conference in December, and it says 8.25 seconds is the study today. But then when you look back, 2,000 years ago when they were transcribing like the Bible, the average person could memorize 10 to 15,000 word stories. And so we've gone from memorizing literally entire books to we can't stay focused for more than 8 seconds.
Squirrel.
It's crazy. I think that's actually shorter than a goldfish. We officially surpassed the attention of a goldfish.
I wish we could reel that one back in, and that was not disclosed. I feel that though, especially with little kids. I know you have little kids too. Yeah. So tagging your videos, I think this is starting to talk about this system by which you kind of categorize everything. How have you, like, what is it all in like Google Drive and you have spreadsheets to link to it, or what's your system or what would be your recommended system for a community to keep track of this stuff?
Well, before we post it, it's on a spreadsheet, Google Sheet, where we categorize it by like the video type. So staff interview, resident interview, family interview, activity, B-roll, all of those kind of categories. And then we name it, whoever was interviewed, and then we summarize it and rate it. After it's posted, we use Sprout Social. And so Sprout allows you to create custom tags. And so you can tag it with, this was a testimonial, this was a resident testimonial, this was a family testimonial. Or if you were doing this and really wanted to get specific, you could say like couple in objection. We're actually talking to Sales Mail about using their platform of uploading and organizing it on their platform to share out to prospects. So a lot of companies may have tools already that can do this, but just taking the stories that you've invested to capture and edit, and then just using them beyond social media. So organizing them, whether it's Sales Mail, whether it's your social media platform manager with tags, whether it's a spreadsheet, but really making sure your sales teams are aware that they have these as kind of like ammo after a shoot.
That's good. And that kind of leads into this conversation here is, I think, your consistency. The only way you could post 4 times a week, and I know that's probably ambitious for a lot of those on this call, is if you are religious about your categorization, your organization. a tool we've used a lot is called captions.ai, and will help you. Actually, all you have to do is upload the long form content, and it'll break it into little social shareable things with obviously this name captions, with captions like burned in to the video. So there are tools too that can help you do this. You don't have to have this exhaustive system, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Our goal with a 2-day shoot with 2 videographers, we try to get between 100 and 150 videos in 2 days. And so that would make it, if you need to post 4 times a week, then you have to film once every like 3 to 5 months. And so that's how that's why the system on the back end matters, because when that happens, then you can use the data to multiply, like this slide says. Taking those, you posted 100 videos, what are your top 3 to 5 now that we can reformat, repurpose to then drive leads both on the sales side and the job recruitment side at the individual community level.
Yeah, I was thinking there was something missing on this slide. This was kind of an example of what we did with Front Desk Heroes, because we told that Judy O'Donnell story, and we used that to find more stories. So I think in your community, if you tell a really good story like this, there are going to be others who also are like, oh, I know someone. I've actually got the capes here that we gave out. I don't know if you guys can see that. So we sent these capes that are real simple to concierges. If they were, we had lots of people saying, "Hey, I know a great concierge," and we'd send them this kind of care package with a cape and a pamphlet of like some tips on how to be an excellent concierge, and then that actually led us to what's pictured here was one of the posts. We're in post production on this, but was an awesome story of a concierge Scottish lady. So who doesn't love a Scottish accent? She's a firecracker. So all that to say is, like, if you find those golden cows, it does kind of amplify, like it multiplies.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, it's not just a one and done. You can use it for a lot of different things. And I think that's where storytelling can fail. If you try to pigeonhole it into, hey, we're going to start telling these stories so that we can help this one part of our business.
Yeah.
You're going to try to force it, and then it becomes a stale message. Where if you just say, hey, we're going to share the stories of my senior living organization, and within that, all these different areas are going to be impacted, I think that's where you'll see the most value and ROI out of doing something like this.
Yeah, and it's kind of paradoxical. That's where it's hard for the people making the money decisions to invest in brand, because you do have to hold it loosely and open-handedly, in that if it's ironic that if you try to force it, and we want to tell this one story that hits this exact demographic, and this is how we're going to do it, this is how we want it to look, you miss out on capturing the beauty of something if you held it open-handed and be like, I'm not sure we're going to see the straight line ROI for this.
Yep. And Dan has a good question. Can we go back to that slide that was like top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel?
Yep.
So Dan, you asked, where are we talking about the primary medium? What we recommend is starting with social. So the big 4 for us are TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. LinkedIn's good too if you have goals of acquiring more management contracts or whatever your goals are there, or recruiting is good for LinkedIn. But those are our primary 4 in terms of volume. And so you start with those so that you can get the data on what are the best videos that can be used on the organic side that can be used for other needs. And so when you go to the middle of the funnel, let's say that couple that had a 30-second story about their marriage goes viral, then the audience likes that couple for whatever reason. And so then maybe you do a longer form video that you can do in an email campaign or share at an event or share at a tour or a grand opening about their love story that leads into them moving. And then your sales teams can then use that to, follow up with prospects. Or, we have a couple of clients that have taken a montage of all their stories that performed well on social, repurpose them. And then so when you're going to get a prospect a cup of coffee in the discovery room, you have a 10-minute looping video of all of these different people talking about how amazing it is to live or work in the community. And so it starts with the social, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, but then it can web off into all these other areas once you have that, those assets created and the data that supports which ones are the best to use for other things.
Yeah. And the email, I think mentioning email too, it takes email from being a very, very saturated channel that most people ignore. And if you have a thumbnail with a, play button of the video in that email, that could be something somebody's willing to actually watch and would tell such a good story versus reading a long copy of your value prop and why you should live in X community. All right.
We have one more question. Repeat your main 4 one more time. So YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, and then LinkedIn is is a good one, but from a volume standpoint, you don't need as much volume on LinkedIn as you do those other 4.
I think I'm gonna pop to the QA slide. Any other questions? I think this is a good opportunity.
Can you go back to that last slide they said?
This one? Yeah. So these are some, we mentioned captions. Nate, you mentioned Sprout Social for sending it to your different channels. It can be so tedious if you're trying to manage it, and you got to go post on Facebook, you got to go post on Instagram, you got to, post on YouTube. Sprout will let you just kind of do that with one click of the button and schedule it. So
she said the one before that.
This one. Yeah. So what are the best doing, Nate?
Consistent. I would say volume is number 1. Quality is number 2. Authenticity kind of goes within those 2.
This
so
one. Yeah.
Yeah. And so volume, especially on social, the days of the 2-minute video every 2 years, people leave, things change, the community changes. And so being able to tell these stories at volume is really, really important. Authenticity wins, in the world of AI, you mentioned that, I feel like half the stuff I view, I Google it and it was a lie or not real or whatever it was. The thing we're always going to be able to hold on to is what do our actual residents say about their actual community, and being able to tell that in a million different ways will win in the end. And as you do this, you're becoming your own media company within your organization. And so you don't have to rely on these outside publications to form their opinion about you. You can help your audience form their own opinion about you.
Yeah. So as we're coming to the end here, hey, shoot Nate, shoot me an email. Doesn't have to be AccuShield or My Dash Media related. If you want a recommendation for something we talked about today, yes, we will share the slides. We'll share a recording with everybody, so you can go use those QR codes to watch those videos. Follow AccuShield, follow Senior Living Stories. Deanna, Laura, thank you guys for participating. I'm so glad you found some value. Nate, anything? closing remarks?
No, I'd love to connect with you guys on LinkedIn. I just really, really care about people capturing these stories, whether it's with Dash or with a local videographer. I think it's so important to capture these. And so if you ever just need tips or tricks or have questions, I'm always happy to share what I've known, and what I've learned over the last 10 years of sharing these stories.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining me, Nathan. Enjoy the slopes. I'm jealous. I'll be out there with you in spirit, although I'm looking forward to the weather warming up in approximately 1 day here in Atlanta. And thank you all for joining us. It's been a fun conversation, and have a wonderful rest of your week.
Thanks, guys.